How's everybody doing? I'm Marcus Weldon.
And I'm Phil Reid, and this
Is
is
the
the
director's cut
director's cut on trades.
on trade. Much better,
Much better.
somewhat. That's
Hey,
our
it's
theme.
perfectly imperfect, right?
Perfectly imperfect.
So, the date is February 16th, and right now, one of the huge topics in the world, or at least in America and the world, I guess, is tariffs. Tariffs being imposed by uh, President Trump. So, Mark and I thought we'd get on here and discuss how these tariffs or potential tariffs could potentially affect the trades professions, and in many various ways. So, I guess we're going to discuss, all different trades. I mean, this is going to go from, getting the imports here, saying to getting them to a construction job to the stores, what I mean, just for supplies. So we want to talk about all angles. And, we're interested to hear, what you all have to say in the comment section too. I mean, we'll be monitoring the comment section and, and hopefully having a good discussion there as well. So, President Trump said that he was going to impose 25% tariffs on imports from China, and I believe the same 25% to Mexico and Canada.
In Canada. Yep.
Since then, there has been a 30-day pause on tariffs for Mexico and Canada, and uh, you know, but China is still going on. So one thing I'll say is I know we get a lot of our steel and aluminum for construction jobs from China, and I know there's various um, parts and things that comes from uh, Mexico, and I'm not fully certain about what comes from what all like parts comes from Canada,
From
but I
Canada.
do
A lot of
know,
wood. It's we get a lot of wood lumber from Canada for sure. And also
yeah,
seen
a lot of
tomatoes.
oil,
A lot
a
of
lot of
oil.
oil.
Yeah, yeah. We get a lot of there's a lot of greenhouses down there as well. So the food chain, tomatoes, vegetables.
Yeah. So that's what let's talk about it. So uh I guess let's start in Canada. So wood, what I mean, we get a lot of wood from Canada. That right there means if we get tariffs going up on wood coming in, that potentially affects the new housing,
New housing
market
bill.
in terms of rebuilds or renovations and things of that nature. It affects some commercial projects as well, but that would be that's going to make the prices of houses of new houses or new builds kind of skyrocket.
Right,
Uh,
right, right. Yeah, it's it's crazy because I feel like we're reliving what happened back in 2020 when COVID first hit. We had a lot of supply chain delays and increase in price on product across the board. Um, and we still haven't really 100% recovered from that. There's still a lot of different things that never really went back to, normal price. Um, the housing market has been pretty inflated already. And now that you're talking about an increase in the price of wood and other goods, I mean, I don't see the housing market slowing down. So for those who are trying to build a house during this time, I feel for you. But I think that what's going to end up happening is companies are going to have to look at alternative materials. You know, um, and that's something that, whether it be I'm actually perfect example. I'm actually managing a construction project now for new windows at the yacht club, and we're looking at different materials versus wood was the original thought, but fiberglass and different plastics that can withstand weather conditions. So that's what the industry is headed towards, is trying to find alternative materials that can kind of level this thing out a bit. And it's like you said, with even with metals like It was one point in time where Cadillac converters, all you heard was Cadillac converters were, made of, I think was it not was it palladium, and as cars start to evolve, certain cars, you don't even have Cadillac converters, but the ones that do, there was talk about, well, palladium is so high. What about using platinum? So that's what you're going to have to do in the construction world, and hopefully there's a material out there that can be used that can withstand what you're trying to do.
Well, so right now, when I think new builds for houses or projects or anything like that, right? Let's break it down to the bones, right? You got studs,
Yep.
and right now you got wood studs. You know what I'm saying? You got the metal studs, which is aluminum. You know what I mean? So both of those are being affected. Now, I did read a few articles where it said that the hope is that this is
Hmm.
a temporary factor, and that it will ramp up domestic production of these
Internally, yeah.
items. Uh, and we still have plenty of woods here, in the country, to where we could do that. But a lot of companies had abandoned doing that, and because, well, when I say abandon doing it at that high level, or what I'm saying, at that at that number to where they could help sustain the country, because it was just cheaper to import it, right? So they didn't
Right,
have to
right.
pay those high wages. So I mean, I don't think, even if we start producing more domestically, I'm not positive that that will affect pricing anymore, because they have to account for whatever that cost will be to
Whatever
pay
that cost would
United
be,
States
yeah.
workers. So, I mean, either way it goes, I think the pricing is going to be affected. Now, domestic production, provides more jobs here in America, whether it's a skilled job or a middle skilled job, whatever the case may be. That's a good thing if it happens that way. You know what I mean? Um, but that's still tough for right now. Uh, smaller businesses, you talked about that. Smaller businesses are, already in some cases working on um, small profit margins, much smaller profit margins than some of the larger corporations, right? And so when and of course you pass that on to the consumer, but if the consumers are feeling that price now more and can't, we have less production, then you're going to have a lot more, or you're going to have more smaller businesses either having to be bought up by the larger ones, or
Right,
or just going out of business in general, because some of that work isn't there. Now that we haven't seen any evidence that that's going to happen yet, but we're kind of brand new into these tariffs, right?
right,
So
right. Yeah,
uh,
and President Trump was the only president that imposed tariffs. I think he just threw a wider web. Um, there was some tariffs I know that President Biden did, and I think was more so strategic against China with the EV batteries and stuff like that. But Trump is President Trump is kind of like he's taking it to another level. Um, I think there's a mixture of opinions. Like you said, domestically, could it you know uh, make America everything made in America? Can it bring those jobs back? Like you said, the increase in costs. I'm worried about, are you going to be able to find workers to even work these jobs? Because it goes back into like a lot of the talks we've had on the show about just the trades in general. I mean, do you have even the people to work in these places, in these manufacturer, these buildings, wood factories and steel factories? Do you have the people to man it? There's a lot of still a gap here where we're looking for people to even work these jobs, because these are still going to be kind of considered, skilled labor jobs. The actual people that work in the manufacturing buildings that to prep the material for the tradesmen and the construction guys. That's a skill set. There's a lot of heavy machinery, a lot of tools you need to know how to use. So it's not a job that anyone can just walk in and just be prepared for. It's a lot of training, certification, safety. So we got to have the people to work these jobs too. They got to be prepared.
and that's what I'm saying. A lot of these companies aren't ready to
Yeah.
just ramp up production like that because
Right.
they need people that has these skills, and I don't know all the names of the machines, but you got stamping machines, you got
Stamping
all kind of
machine.
different things um, to be able to produce this stuff. So there's a lot that a lot of these companies are gonna have to switch up. Um, and I read an article actually, might have been CNN, may not, but it said that um, there was only 143,000 jobs added in January. Um,
Wow.
which sounds like, good, what I'm saying, 143,000. But the expectation was that there was supposed to be 175 or 176,000 jobs added in January. That's what the economists thought would happen. And so the thing that was the excuse or the reason that was brought up is that they said companies are starting to behave as if we're going into a recession.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
and I don't want to fully blame that on tariffs. You know what I mean? But tariffs had something to do with it, right? When I was looking to order, and this is for me for my actual job, when I was looking to order some new LED fixtures, uh, I was waiting on a decision, right, to come
Right.
from, my boss, and so we finally said, okay, we're going to take a look at ordering and kind of go from there. The lead time on these LED fixtures went from like a 6 week lead time to like a 6 month lead time. You know what I mean? And it's because so many companies in the country said, you know what, we're going to order and stockpile. As long as we get that order in, we'll be able to get this price before before all these tariffs kick in. And then I'm getting letters from all kinds of different distributors saying, hey, these tariffs have kicked in. Our prices will reflect that going forward. Anytime you get a quote, it'll say this quote is for 30 days. And normally, normally you might get that quote and it says 30 days, but they understand that sometimes places like we work, it has a little bit of a time period where it don't always get things done in 30 days, right? At least not in
Right.
my.
Right.
But now, that this is good for 30 days is real because it's things changing and no one knows exactly what's going on. So you might get a quote for something that is, you
Yeah.
know, $15,000 for supplies, and then 30 days later, add 25% to 15,000. You know what I mean? So it might be another 3750 added on to that. So it might turn into 18,000, $750 just like that. So
Hmm.
without labor. So there's a lot happening. I mean, and so think about it when and even if we're still paying these tariffs, this stuff comes in. It comes in, on ships to the ports, and then from the ports, is trucked out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
now, uh, the cost of it coming into the country is higher. I don't know that it affects the trucking. Saying the truck drivers from a standpoint of pricing, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, unless we're considering the oil, you know what I mean? Because if gas prices go up significantly, that's gonna add another price tag to it, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
nothing, yes, there's plenty of things that they get to the ports and then they put them on the trains and they get them all over. But then when the trains drop them, the trucks pick up and then they get them to everywhere else that they got to
Mhm.
go. So nothing is moving without the trucks. Um, and like I said, if the gas prices go up, then that's going to add another hefty price tag to things. And then, but if things slow down, does that affect truck drivers, in general? You know what I mean? Uh, is that going to make some of the drivers, um, go, I don't want to say go hungry, but is that going to affect their bottom line,
Yeah.
the over the road haulers and stuff like that? We got an episode that's coming up where we're
I
going to
was getting
discuss.
ready to say
So we
that
don't
that's
have to
going to
go
be a
too
good
far into
one.
it.
That's going to be a good topic. Yep. 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 That's going to be a good topic with Rob. I mean, I there's there's certain jobs that I call recession proof, and a lot of them are skilled trade jobs. Um, I think to kind of tie this back into like a lot of our listeners, like we talk about kids getting into trade. I think this is a one of the main reasons why, because the uncertainty right now, certain jobs are going to, possibly, excuse me, be, slow down or be obsolete. Certain jobs may vanish. You get all kind of stuff like AI taking over. But the one thing we know that we can never take away is um, your heating, your electrical, your plumbing, and your home and your commercial building. So I think a lot of the things that we're talking about, it still ties back into kids need to figure out a career path that even in uncertainty, you could still make some money. And I it's going to be a long time before you see a robot come walking into someone's house and saying, "Hey, I'm here to fix your furnace and replace your air conditioner." That's going to be a long time. So, uh, even with supply chain delays, yeah, you're going to have material issues. So I could see an HVAC guy saying, "Hey, like, I can't get this compressor for the next 6 months or so, whatever." But it's still I'm the only one that can put this compressor in. So when it
Right.
gets here, I'm still the guy, So it's still a skill set to have, man. That it's going to be very hard to wipe it out. Wipe the recession is going to be, even I remember during a recession back in 2000, was it 8, 9? Skilled trade guys are still making big bucks, still making
Yeah.
big bucks.
I mean, again, thinking about a project that we had just done, we had to replace our winter chiller for Chrysler Arena. So, uh, we got two huge chillers in there for summer months and all this stuff. But during the wintertime, we have a smaller chiller just because we got to keep the studio, cool and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And we use as much free cooling as possible in terms of outside
Outside
air.
air, yeah,
But there's a few spaces within the building that we still have to chill some water and get to. You know what I mean? Uh, and the lead time on that chiller was 10 months. You know, and so by the time we got everything approved, ordered, blah blah blah, we got it installed just in time for this season. But now with the supply chain going up, I looked at a different article. I mean, not the supply chain, sorry, with pricing going up through tariffs and other things, like pricing has already been major. It went up majorly. Like copper, uh,
oh my gosh, yes,
85%
yeah,
since 2019. You know what I
all
mean?
precious metals.
And that price hasn't gone down, right? You know what I mean?
Right,
It wasn't like COVID's over. All right, let's go back
yeah,
down to, however much it was. I think it went up from like $2.50 to like $5 and it was 2.85 and it was $5 and like 60 cents. So it was like significant. And then there was other metals that went up 125%. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like I said, so these prices aren't going back down, and those
yeah,
prices eventually will affect how things get done. You know what I mean? And all that stuff, like prices. So I want to go back to what you said. You said like trades are recession proof, and to an extent, absolutely. Like so, service trades. You know what I mean? Repairs, and installations and
yeah,
things of that nature. It's not getting replaced, right? You know what I mean? Um, you still need somebody with some skill that's gonna, install a split system or install a AC unit or and new furnace, things of that nature. So that's not going away, right? We still need it. But like one thing you said is you know what? It's going to affect the bottom line to the customers because hey, I got this compressor, I can order it, but it's a 6 month lead time. You know what I mean? Imagine telling someone that in May
yeah,
in a warmer state and
yeah,
saying it's gonna be 6 month lead time before I can get this compressor, and it's already 85 degrees, 90 degrees in some places, and they're like, you know what, I need something now. So
Yeah.
now it goes from, when I'm replacing this compressor to, you know, we need a whole new unit anyway, which in most cases, what I'm saying, if you got a unit that's old enough, in most cases, I don't want to say all, but in most cases where your compressor's going out, stuff like that, a lot of times you got an older system, you know what I mean? So you need to update
Go ahead
anyway
and get a whole new system.
because you want newer refrigerant that's going to be a little bit more efficient. The equipment is going to be more efficient, all that stuff like that. So now it's not just replacement of that compressor. It is, let's just upgrade your whole system. Now that's talking to, you know, residential. Commercial is a little bit different, right? I got compressors that, unfortunately, because of how the system was designed, that go out frequently, and,
Yeah.
and you know, when I have that lead time, it's a hassle, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I got an event that I can't cool down with, you know, thousands of people, and that becomes problematic. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's the customer is going to be the one that's hit the hardest for sure. And I was just thinking when you talked about metals, one thing about metals people don't realize too is that the commodity game is going crazy all across the board. But like gold and silver, those two precious metals kind of lead the pack. Gold is almost like 3 grand, man. It's like 28 and some change, and silver is like $33 an ounce. And what that says is that when gold and silver is like at those high prices, it's the uncertainty of the economy. Like a lot of people start hoarding and they put their money into like gold and silver, and those are like the alphas that send a signal to the commodity game. Like, look, we preparing for recession. So like if you look at all the recessions, if you look at the depressions, gold and silver was always that safe haven. Whereas like what could I put my dollar how can I transfer my dollar to something that can kind of like withstand inflation? So a lot of this that you're seeing is uncertainty. And you see a lot of people that you see these commercials, people are buying like silver coins and they're collecting these things that people are even, I even did some things where I kind of moved my 401k around a little bit to have some precious metals in it. It's a safe haven and it's a safety net for inflation. So when
but I
that
say it's not
happens,
going down, that's for sure.
yeah, it ain't going down, right? So it's just showing the people are kind of speaking through that, saying that hey, like we don't trust that the dollar is going to be as strong as it as used to be.
Yeah, that's that's an understatement. I've been here. I've heard that on several different levels. So, thinking a little bit more about this topic here, I also went on Reddit, and um, there's a gentleman who was new. I'm assuming it was a gentleman. You know what I mean? I don't want to, it was just the name I saw, right?
Right.
But it seemed from the conversation that it was from a masculine perspective. But I don't want to be, I don't want to be exclude anyone. Anyway, uh, so this person wrote down, "Hey, I'm new to the trades, but with everything going on and the tariffs happening, I'm kind of wondering, is this a safe space, for me, moving forward, really to think about moving forward and building my family, on this salary." And so there were some people showing up like, it's the trades. If you just keep your head down and work, you'll have no issues and blah blah blah. But then there was one person that came on there and said, you know, uh, they said history repeats itself, and they said in the '80s there was a big recession, and a lot of construction slowed down everywhere. And they
Mm-hmm.
said there's plenty of tradespeople in the construction business itself that were, having to get more layoffs, right? They were getting more and more layoffs. Now, uh, we're in a unique spot here because we're already down a lot of trades. So
A lot of trades, yeah.
right now the prices are getting inflated because a lot of companies are paying trades over
Yep.
what they are slated to make because they want their job done first.
Right.
So if there is a slowdown, I still don't know if that will be the case like that person was saying in the '80s because there will still be plenty of work out here. I mean, let's just talk about the enormity of what's going on in California, right? In
Right,
LA.
right, right,
You
right,
know,
right.
like I don't know that there's enough tradespeople in California, but like there's going to be, what about the jobs that were already going on in Cali? In order to rebuild that city in however fashion that they're going to do with the houses, if it's going to be houses, right? Because I've been hearing horror stories about, people having, $400,000 or $500,000 houses and the insurance company saying, no, we will not give you that much money to rebuild. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen there, but something's going to rebuild, right? It's not going to just
Yeah,
stay. It's not going to just stay in its current state. Um, so, there's a lot happening. There's going to be work out there. It's just a matter of, uh, how much and how concentrated it is throughout the country. So,
yeah, and that's a good point, man. You know, in the '80s, we were in a different climate, right? I think also the baby boomers still were kind of dominating the trade, right? Like, and then once the baby boomers started to retire, this huge gap came, and it was like the millennials didn't pick up the ball and take on the trade, so there was we couldn't find people to fill out those spots.
but
Then
don't forget Gen X now. So,
yeah, in
uh,
Gen X, right, right,
I mean, but think about it though, right? And I'm just going to come from my perspective. You know what I mean? Because I'm a Gen Xer by a few years here, but I'm on the tail end. And so I grew up and everything was told to me was, mine is a terrible thing to waste, right? That was the huge, in the early 80s and stuff like that, a mine is a terrible thing to waste. They was talking about, saying staying off drugs. I mean, because we're talking about in the height of, you know, crack and all that stuff like that. Everything is really taken off from a drug standpoint in a lot of major cities. That's a different subject too.
right,
Um, uh, and and so now it's like, hey, stay off drugs. Get yourself together, go to college. And so the main focus for people my age was like, all right, go to college, get this degree, buy a house, live the American dream, you know what I mean? But that right there also helped some people to feel like, if you don't go to college, you're a failure. You know what I'm
your
saying? If you
failure.
don't do this, you're a failure. And so, that also uh helped to cause some mental issues, you know what I'm saying, for some people trying to deal with the fact that, school in the capacity that it was being taught really wasn't for them. You know what I mean? There's people who have, different issues with ADA, people who have issues with, like I recently found out that I have apnea, as a matter of fact, and, you know, not getting a good quality sleep has affected, it affects how much you can pay attention in certain settings, right?
Wow,
You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So
right.
it's a lot easier to get up and move, but once you stop moving, then you're starting to fall asleep, things of that nature. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that goes into um, why some people can't, excel further in certain areas, of education. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I done danced all around. I done went all around the world with that point, and damn near forgot how I was gonna drive it home. So
Hey, let's go. Hey, listen, one thing about is all this stuff ties in together. It's we start off talking about the tariffs, but the thing about the tariffs is it ties into the construction, it ties into the trade, it ties into the fact that college was pushed and trades wasn't pushed, and now we're in a position now where we're looking for people to get in the trade. And so it's a heck of a topic to talk about. I think that no one knows 100% what's going to happen. I mean, it's a lot of uncertainty. It's just, there's some good that can come out of it. Um,
let's
but
talk
there's
about
also,
pros. Let's talk
yeah,
about the pros.
pros. We can talk about the pros. I mean, if you could really start to manufacture things in America and bring jobs and find the people to work these jobs and, find a way to, kind of cut the cost so you're not spending so much to create whatever product it is you're trying to create here. I mean, that'd be great. Um, like I said, alternative materials, like it's going to be. If you could figure out ways to, um, we're in the we're in this go green era now, right? Where it's like everything is about saving energy and different things. So, uh, different products that can be used that maybe are, for instance, I got the biodegradable, um, the shrink wrap. I was at this seminar, so I deal with boats, deal with yachts. So there's a mass issue going on with like recycling plastic, right? You've seen the stories about straws in the ocean, where you also got like landfills full of plastic, shrink wrap. So the industry is like going into biodegradable shrink wrap, biodegradable straws, and biodegradable plastic. So that's like a whole, right now the price is really high for some of these products, but eventually they're going to kind of level out and they're going to figure a way to be able to create it and do it in a way where you can, you can make a mass supply for cheap. But that's like a turning point in the industry, huge turning point in the industry. And I see that as a baseline to talk about, what's going to happen with building houses in general. Like, is the wood and the aluminum or the steel, is that going to be your main go-to product now? Like, is it going to be something that's going to be, I know it's hard to like imagine, but there's different metals out here that can be used, so it's going to be interesting.
You know, as you brought that up, I saw something. There was every once in a while, man, I got this thing where you got up and coming companies that are looking for investment,
Right.
and there was one company which I forgot the name, so I'm not gonna put them out here and give no free advertisement anyway. But anyway, this company was uh, they had it set up where they could 3D print a house.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. Yes. Yep. Yep.
And so when you talked about the alternative methods and materials and landfills, they can take all that plastic that's wasted out there,
Yep.
and they can start printing the walls of the house and having it set up to where like the raceways for electrical and all that stuff is already set. um, I don't know how that plastic would hold up in like the winters of
Right.
like, Michigan or, Maine or anything like that. Uh, but that's an alternative. I mean, and if we start moving in that direction, I mean, imagine that affects how the trades are going to be building residential houses. I mean, you know, something becomes a standard because it's used. So the reason why wood studs has been the standard for so long is because wood was readily available
Exactly. Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time when we started really building the house and mass producing houses and stuff like that. And so wood was like, oh, this is the standard, and then that set the codes, right? You got to use this, so you got to use that. So how will a company like that that's going to 3D print houses and stuff like that, which is completely, different, from all the codes and stuff that's out there about in terms of materials being used. How will that offset? Because now you won't need carpenters as much if the
Mhm.
framing of the house is being put up. Now you'll still need carpenters to install, the windows, to install, you'll need masons to put the bricks up on the outside, if that's what you're using on the outside material. You'll still need carpenters to put up uh I'm assuming to build the roof, but I haven't I don't know, you know what I mean? Because I guess maybe you could 3D print, gables
3D
and
printer
stuff like
roof.
that.
Yeah.
But they still have to install the plywood up there, on top to be able to put shingles and all that stuff down. But I mean, how will that kind of technology affect the trades? And granted, that's not coming direct from tariffs, but if tariffs affect materials that's being able to be brought into the country, that might expedite the technology like that being used. You know what I mean? Because it could be cheaper in terms of, all right, we're gonna take all this plastic, we're gonna start pulling from the landfills, melt all this stuff down, use newer plastics as well, and start building houses. You know what I mean? And that might they might be able to put together a house for much cheaper
Much cheaper than they. Yeah.
than being done. and still sell that house for just as much, if not more, right?
Yep, yep. And that's something, you know, the lumber companies don't want to hear that. Some of these companies, it's like you got to keep managed business too. So I always think, and this may sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I always think like some of these companies it's like the mafia. They be trying to like suppress all of the other alternative companies, and it's like the oil companies don't want the electrical companies to take over and make electrical cars because you
Hold on
know.
now. Hold on now. Let me go get my tinfoil. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Uh,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I be feeling like that sometimes, but I mean,
listen, you are the truth. You're telling the truth, man. I mean, so you if you're like me, I'm into, I hear about different inventions and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna give anything specific or, because I don't, whatever. I don't want any of that backlash. But the thing is if you own the oil companies, you know what I mean, does it benefit you to truly have uh, a car that that runs forever? You know what I mean? That runs for a long time. You know what I mean?
right?
Right?
You want
Because
right,
yes, the mandate was for electric vehicles and stuff like that. But right now, like I think one of the electric vehicles that gets the furthest distance was like 350 miles or something like that, you
right,
know which is not a lot. You can't really take too many road trips like that uh and have a good time, right?
right.
So it doesn't pay right now to develop something that would go that much longer, because you still want to charge people got to make money off charging the batteries. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you know all right, I'm gonna say it, I don't care. It doesn't pay to cure diseases,
It
right?
doesn't. Right,
It pays to manage diseases.
right, right, right.
So saying, if you translate that to you know uh, uh technology and whatever the case may be, yeah, these companies, they don't want to find what's best for the environment. They want to find what's best for their pocketbooks. You know
For
what I
their
mean?
pocketbooks.
Because everybody that has the money and the bread like that, I am not one that is you know I don't want to say fortunate, because I'm glad that I don't think that way. But I'm not one that has ever felt that way, because I don't have billions upon billions. I'm not trying to compete to become the richest man, richest person, in the world, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I think that's what it is. I think they get together and have a convention and
Yeah.
talk about how rich they are and how much they're going to affect certain segments of of business, whatever. I think we got off topic there a little bit.
Put the tinfoil hat back on.
I'm gonna take the tinfoil hat off. That's what I'm gonna do. But like you said though, if these prices are coming up, if they're going up due to whatever reason, right? Because like you said, these tariffs here are not the first tariffs that were put on, but a 25% tariff is
It's pretty
significant, right?
pretty significant. Yeah.
So
These are definitely more aggressive.
right. So if I mean the pros are that it could force um, this country to start doing more production domestically. And if we're producing domestically, that does cut the cost of the tariff. So you don't get that 25%. Then it also cuts the cost of, getting it here in the first place, right? So it cuts that freight cost, to get it to the ports. And then they just got to get it from wherever production facility that they're at to to the trucks so they get them delivered, or to the trains to get it sent out, and then to the trucks, blah blah blah. So I mean, I don't know. It's possible that we could actually produce it and the price stays similar, because of that, because of, it's less logistics to get it to the end user. Who knows? Um, I don't have all those factors, so I couldn't begin to tell you, about that. So um, that's what I say in terms of pro. So, and it gets a lot more jobs here, which could, help to boost the economy. So, I mean, it's not totally, um, it's not totally unfounded that some positive couldn't come from this. But right now it's upsetting the norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which that's what our president has promised to do in the first place. So he's delivered on his word with that. You know, good or bad, he's
Right.
delivered on his word with that. So, uh, we'll see. Um, and I'm looking forward to some of these alternative methods of getting things done because, I mean, number one, I'm always looking to, find ways, I am, as they say, I have to be in my role, a purveyor, a guardian of the university's money, right? So I can't just be out spending, just because we got it, you know what I'm saying? I can't do all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so if I find something that works, that's effective, and helps us to save some money, I'm looking forward to it. If that comes in the form of alternative materials, as long as it meets the code, then we can check those things out, right?
That's why it's good to have good partnership with good engineer firms. They keep you updated on what's going on out here, all the new, technology. Good architects. These guys, they know what's out there. They know what's out there. So, when you're doing new construction projects, those firms are good to have partnerships with. Um,
Absolutely.
so, but it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I just think people just, change is always hard, man. But change sometimes um, is a good thing. So we just got to sit back and wait. We weathered the storm of COVID and different recessions. The construction industry still prevailed and still kept going. Yeah, we had some delays, but houses still got put on this on land and was built. Um, you know, Commercial property still ran. So um, we'll be fine. It's just a scary feeling of uncertainty.
Yeah. Right. I mean, going back to my job, when you try to implement any change, it's met with resistance because it's like, what is this change for? In my job, if I'm trying to say I want a true cost of a work order, you know what I mean? Sometimes your team will say, well, are you trying to check my time? You know what I mean? Am I going to now get in trouble if my time isn't, you know, everybody
Mhm.
is, like I said, they sometimes get scared about, change, but, sometimes you got to ride it out and see how it goes. And whether you're willing to ride it out or not, what I'm saying, is here. The change is here. So we just got to see.
Right.
Yeah. So, uh, I think we talked about trucking and how it could potentially affect trucking, tariffs. We talked about new construction and how there's some people who believe like is that we're repeating history to
Right.
where it could slow down some projects and cause some issues there. We talked about residential. Do you think there's anything that, hell, we talked about conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Is there
Right.
anything you think that we haven't discussed in terms of these tariffs and, that we should bring up?
I think we covered everything. I think right now it's back to the whole wait and see what else comes of it. I mean, I will say this: if you are an investor, I would say focus on, and I shouldn't say I'm not a financial advisor, but something that I'm doing personally is I'm watching different companies and trying to figure out what stock, like when we talk about these alternative methods, which stock, uh, with which company stock is going to be the next to really kind of pop and take over and blow up. There's a lot of different opportunities to make some money. Because when you approach this change, it's like a seesaw, right? Like at one point, this side of the seesaw on the right side was up, and then the left side was down. But eventually, that weight starts to redistribute to the left side, and it's like, okay, I want to get on the left side while it's rising up. So I got to figure out which product, which company is going to be the next to take over. And there's a lot of companies that's this is going to blossom. You know,
All
So
right.
we just gotta.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish
No,
up.
I said just gotta watch and see.
Okay, I'm gonna give the official. Um, the podcast Directors Cut on Trade and its affiliates are not financial advisors and financial experts, and nor do we give financial advice. Uh,
Right.
so any decision that you make on your finances, do it at the risk of
Yeah.
loss. We want to make sure
Yeah.
we clear that
That's
right
why
there.
I didn't give no company name or nothing. Just say, hey, look, just do some research and figure out which company is gonna pop.
No, but it's I always forget it, man. I always forget it. It was a quote from Gladiator, man. I'm gonna take 1 second to look it up, but basically it said the exact same thing. It says there's a time in the affairs of men where the tide rises. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I always forget that quote. It take me 1 second. Tide in the affairs of men. And basically what it says is you have to take advantage of the situation, right? You know what I mean? If you pay attention to what's going on, you'll be able to see it. It says there's a tide in the affairs of men which
Right.
taken at the flood leads on to fortune. You know what I mean? And so basically saying like when times of flood, when things have flooded and stuff like that, people are going to be running, what I'm saying, take advantage of that if you have the opportunity, and you can get rich by that. So basically what that's exactly what you said. Take advantage of a situation if you're paying attention, and see what's going on out here, and you can make a fortune doing it. So
Yep.
uh, yeah, I think we covered a good bit of how these tariffs could potentially affect the trades in many different areas of things. But I wouldn't mind hearing from you all, any one of you all in the comments, what you all think, because we got a lot happening. There's some negative that could happen. There's some positive that can happen. So look forward to a little back and forth there, with however you all feel. Any parting words, Marcus?
Man, just you know, for the young folks, pay attention to what we're saying about the trade, man. Like look into, you know, skill sets that you can have that they can't take away from you. And when I say they, I'm saying um,
No
you
one.
know, no one. Yeah, I want you to be able to make money, even if you have to work for yourself.
I mean, if you get licensed or you get that knowledge, you can always say, you know what, I'm not really into having a boss right now.
Yep.
I can just go and I can go do my work myself. Now, it's a lot of work involved in that too, but at the same time, you can do it at your pace, and you can set your days and take on projects, however you see fit. So, yeah, getting a trade is invaluable. Even if you learn just so that you know someone can't take advantage of you. You know what I mean? Like there's one trade that we hadn't talked about too much, a little bit with the A&P with Will, but like mechanics. You know what I mean? I like learning a little bit of aspects about cars just because in case I take it someplace, because I don't feel like doing the work, I don't want somebody to take advantage of me. But that's a whole nother ball game. Whole nother topic for discussion. So uh if you don't have anything else that we can add to this particular topic here, I think I'm good, and I think we covered as much as we can.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm looking forward to everyone's comments, and I can't wait to you guys hear the interview with Rob about the trucking. I mean, it's going to be big because this is ties into our conversation we just had. So that's going to be a good episode.
Absolutely. So my name is Phil Reed, and I'm asking you to like, subscribe, share, and my partner is Marcus Weldon, and we're gonna close out today. And this has been the Director's Cut on Trade. Have a great one,
Great.
everyone.
Have a great one, man.